everybody. I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to Michelle's Inspiration Hour. I am Michelle Henderson, and I hope that each episode that you watch that it brings a little sparkle of inspiration into your life. So tonight, what I want you to think about is passion. Okay? Here is a quote to help you kind of get started with Harriet Tubman. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. All right. So I am so excited. I'm going to tell you who we are going to hear tonight. So we're going to hear from a guest that always follows her passion. She always has since I've met her, the day I've met her. She is Cassie Clayton. She is passion driven about helping you build your impactful websites. She created Stargazers Unite to help spiritual business owners follow their purpose. As a light worker herself, Casey understands how important it is for you to focus on the healing and connection with your client, which is why she loves to do all the back end work needed to help you build a brand that you can be proud of and that expresses who you are to potential clients. All right, so let's hear it from Cassie. I mean, she can tell you about all her inspiration behind all of her creativity because she is so creative. All right, let's bring her on. Hey, Cassie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Oh, hold on. All right, we need to tell our audience they only have to clap one time.
Right?
and I forget that it's on a loop and it keeps going and it would go all night. And I'm sure everybody would kind of get tired of it because we've already said hello to you. So, how are you doing tonight, my dear?
I'm doing very well. Very well. I am very much impressed with the setup of your show and the start and the graphics. I was watching it going, oh, that looks cool.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad because I am not a graphic designer. So I have to pay, websites that editing websites to help me do that. But you do it from scratch. I mean, you're able to create things, put the colors together where I have to use a lot of tools. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what inspires you? Okay, and tell us about your pathway. How did you decide, you know what? I think I want to become a website designer for other people.
So, yeah, when I started, I've probably been doing websites, logos, graphics, tech support,
Oh, right.
ever since I can remember. Basically, I even as a kid growing up, my dad and I would go to he would be like, we're going to Best Buy. And my mom's like, what? Could you buy
Not another thing.
What do you need from there again? And it's like, we don't know yet. And so I've always just been very technically driven. I've always, been able to pick up a program and just kind of learn it and figure it out. It's all come very natural and very intuitive to me. And so just kind of through the years, I've always kind of become that like go-to person to be like, hey, I need help with this. Oops, I completely deleted all my photos. Can you help me get them back? Can you help me build this graphic? Hey, this is working on this website and I can't figure out how to do this, that, or the other. Can you help me? And so kind of through all of that, it's always been like, I did go to school for advertising, marketing. I did video production and graphics and all of that. So all of that has been through basically very well embedded and incorporated in my life throughout all the years. But probably a couple of years ago, is kind of where I started my own spiritual journey as well, and kind of stepping into the realm of meeting a lot of people in the psychics, mediums, tarot readers. I did find my own passion for that as well. And I also saw an an area where there's so many gifted people in this industry, and when it comes to the getting it up, being able to take their to be able to translate to everyone else what they do, and to help them get out there and be able to share their message and tell who they are, and have that be in a way that is going to be accessible for other people, like through their websites, through through their logos, getting down to their colors, we want to capture who you are. And it's like, as I started working with more and more light workers, it's like that's something that's so naturally been embedded in me, and not maybe so naturally embedded with them. And so I've been able to kind of be that bridge to be like, okay, let's take what you do and let's bring it forward so that you can do more of what you love. And
Right.
let me handle the back end stuff, and I'll handle the technical stuff because I know how to do that.
Well, and I think it's so interesting, and I love this, that you have to be creative. You have to know the different colors that you're working with branding. You
Mhm.
have to have technology skills. You
Yes.
have to have personal skills. Like you said, you're using that intuition to help people. Because I know not only the spiritual business, but I'm sure you get a lot of people going, I just want you to create my website, and that you actually have to pull it out of them what they want, because sometimes you don't know what they want. So, what do you do in cases like that when somebody's going, Cassie, I want you to do my website, but I have no idea what I want?
So it can kind of depend on the client. Right now, I'm actually working with an absolutely lovely client. She started working with a website designer over a year ago, and they had she had the it's one of those situations. She's like, you need more photos, let me know. I can get you that. If you need more content, let me know. I can get you that. I can, like, you have somebody who's perfectly willing to, like, tell me what you need and I will get it to you. And yet this website literally went incomplete for over a year.
Mm.
So, with her, it's like, we just kind of took a little bit of a step back and said, okay, let's really look at your color palette. She had beautiful logo already, didn't need to do much there. So it was just kind of pulling those colors from those logos, going to, hey, does this logo, this color palette work for you? And then just going through the site, and from where we were at, it was just kind of going through and stylizing everything, placing the photos where they needed to go, things like that. And so it was, from a situation like that, where you kind of have at least a little bit of the framework to work from, it's very easy. If we're working with somebody that has no information to work with, and they don't have any information, that's where I kind of have to take really a step back and go, okay, we have to have a direction.
Mhm.
That's probably, if I've got somebody who's really struggling with, what's my message, then I'll probably send them to, a coach via like Colby or Michelle Barr, or we've got some really amazing mentors and coaches who can kind of help you work through that to get that messaging down so that you can then move forward.
Right.
Because without, I was actually working with a client today, and we were working with, like, if it's little things like, she had been working on repricing her her services and things like that. And so I was kind of going down the list and making sure that it kind of all made sense so that I could put them in the site, and it's all going to transfer easily. And I was like, wait a second. I kind of got down to one of the last services, and I was like, how much are you charging for this? And she was like, and she told me, and I was like, yeah, no. I was like, let me do the math on that. No, you're not.
So that's
Because
good. You're coaching them. That's
yeah,
great.
because it didn't match what her
Mhm.
other services were, and she was going to be underselling herself on that one service alone. And I was like, no.
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's kind of one of those situations where there are times that I can step in and kind of be that voice, and kind of help coach somebody through it. And then there are other times where I really have to say, hey, go see and go get in one of Colby's programs, go get,
Mhm.
go work with someone who's going to help you really hammer that out so
Mhm.
that when we put it on the website, it has your voice, because it can really, that can really help with the words,
Oh, yeah.
tailoring the words that need to be able to go on the site. So
Absolutely. It's very difficult. It's almost like writing a book. You got to kind of have somebody to help outline it out. And just to I'm going to let the listeners know Colby Rebel is actually an international psychic medium,
yes.
and she has the mind of a businesswoman. I mean,
Oh,
she
yes.
knows how to run her business. She knows how to put, what it should look like and your advertisement. So she is excellent. She actually has a book out that I received as well that I got from Amazon that kind of, if you're a light worker, it kind of walks you through. Sometimes you need that. And then Michelle Barr is another medium that is very business oriented. Yes, there are some people out there that know the business, even though that they're spiritual workers or light workers. Um, and in your description, it does say that you are a light worker. Can you kind of explain before we go on about the website what a light worker is?
So a light worker is really anyone in, I mean, the most basic form of that word is
Mhm.
anyone that brings light, whose purpose is to bring light into the world. Um, many times that is, um, the psychics, mediums, astrologists, tarot readers, healers, people in that realm. I also work with, I tend to draw in, there's an accountant I'm working with right now to build her website, but she's she literally calls herself the heart centered accountant. So in situations like that, it's like there are a number of business owners that are, they do have that intuitive connection and they want to be able to incorporate that into their business. And those are people that I can work with as well.
Right. Oh, and that is, and I think it's wonderful that you have a specialty and that, because, I think God has a way of putting you where you need to be. And so that because you got interested in psychic mediumship, you started making those connections in the spiritual world. And that's how I know that you were able to get started because of just taking off. And I think that's great. I think everybody needs to know that so that whenever you do start up a business, like what you have, a website, that designer, that you have a specialty and a passion for that because it makes you enjoy it that much more.
Yes,
Don't you agree? So yeah.
absolutely.
So now I've got to ask you this because a lot of people have a website, and I have like a website with so many pages. So whenever you look at a website, which page? I love it. What page is the most important one?
I'm going to go with your home site.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And why is the home page the most important?
that's going to be where in most cases, that's going to be where you're sending the most people. You're going to be sending them to your homepage, and that homepage needs to be able to draw them in. It needs to be able to let them know who you are, what you do. It's got to be able to answer those basic questions very quickly, because again, now if you have a website, and I actually get this a lot, is people will go to a website or go to a client's website of mine, and they're like, I love your site, and they stay on it,
Hmm.
and they'll go and look around at all the other different things. So having something that is really going to draw them in and that they want to stay on it longer, chances are you're going to build, you're already building that credibility, that connection with that client.
Right. Right. And yes, and it's almost like they're telling all of us that we have no attention span anymore.
No,
You know,
right.
it's like the first 30 seconds, if they're not happy, or 10 seconds, they're going to go to another,
Right.
something else. It's like, goodbye. Yeah, that kind of thing. And I've also heard, and whenever I started my own business, a lot of people are going, you don't really need a website. You can just do, social media. You have a Facebook page. You don't need a website. So if somebody comes to you like that, what's your advice?
Why would you do
I know.
that? Because, okay, so we all experienced that day of also like the social media platforms went down.
Right.
And if you are so on any social media platform, no matter what it is, you are kind of at the mercy of that platform. They changed the algorithm, and all of a sudden your content was being seen, and now it's not. Mm-hmm. And they don't have to tell you what they did to change that, or how to get that audience back. They could literally, I hear so many people like, oh, my account got disabled or banned, or, oh, I had to start, they had an account that had like 1 million people on it, and then they end up having to start from scratch. Things like that. It really, having that mailing list, when you have your website, you can start developing your mailing list. Your mailing, because one of the things I get asked all the time is, how does my website make more leads, or create more clients and more customers for me? Well, number one, you have to get it out there. Number one, two, you have to drive people to your site. Number three, you have to have a way to collect their contact information so that you can talk to them. So all of that happens on as a part of your website. And so, which then gives you the ability to send out that that email blast to that mailing list, to be able to contact them and talk to them. And so if you're not building that, then it's kind of like,
yeah.
No,
I totally.
You're really putting yourselves at the mercy of the platforms and whatever the platforms decide.
Right. No, I totally agree with you, because, there will be a day, there may not be any Facebook in a couple of years, or, Instagram, you just never know. But you're right. And that's one thing that you can control. Now, a lot of times people will use websites that are already out there, like Wix and other websites. What do you do to create those websites?
So there are a lot of things, like people can do a Squarespace site, they can do a Wix. Personally, I work on WordPress, because although these other options are out there, they're options that are a little bit more cookie cutter.
Right.
And they give you, they do give you some options, as far as being able to tailor things. But if I'm going to build somebody a website, and I'm going to spend the time, the energy, and the effort with them, I want to build something that's going to be tailored to them and tailored to their business, and make sure that it is doing all the things that it needs to do for them. And that requires having that custom ability. And with WordPress, you do have that ability to literally go in, and change every single aspect of the website to be able to link in whatever needs to be linked in. And it just has a lot more options, because again, as a business owner, when you first start your business, where you're going to be today is not going to be where you end up. So whereas today you may be looking, all I need is just a couple pages here and there. Right. But when you start working with a website designer and they switch you platforms, all of your SEO is being built up back up again. All of your things are, so it's just like, it can be like, I get it. It's an investment to begin with, but making that investment to begin with is going to actually be less expensive and less work as you go along.
Right. Now, as a website designer, you do all the logos, you do the, customer branding. You're a busy lady. You also have a podcast. So and I think a lot of people, I think it's great advertisement. I think it's great to get out there and make connections. But
Yes.
what is your passion? Why did you decide, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do a podcast.
Um, so that was a spirit thing.
Mm.
Because when we first started a podcast, I was like, nope, I'm not going live. No, I'm the last person who needs to be going live because I just, had this belief that I just don't do well on camera. And I'm like, okay, start a podcast. Okay. Um,
And I would really, I have to say, because you were behind the camera because you do a lot of the video as well, with the camera, and uh, what is it called, video marketing, or for organizations. And so when you got in front of the camera, you could tell that you were nervous in the beginning.
yes.
And now it's like, who is that? I mean, oh my gosh, Cassie. We knew that you had it in you, but a lot of times people don't realize that they actually have that in them, and not to be afraid to show it and be your unique self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, that's one thing. Maybe one night we'll watch, comparison clips. Not meaning that you did bad or anything. It just means that you feel so much more comfortable in front of the camera, and you own it, and you should be in front of the camera.
Oh.
I mean, that type of thing, because you've got so much to give to people, so much creativity and knowledge and everything. So thank you so much, Cassie, for getting out there and doing it.
Oh.
She's going, oh, now I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say. Well, and I especially talking about Metaphysical Happy Hour, because you were my first co-host on that show, and so I do feel very, very lucky in that. And then I know things kind of got busy, but we always love
Mm-hmm.
having you back on the show, and then also having Tracy kind of step in. It kind of gave me kind of the space to kind of go, okay, to get more comfortable in that seat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? Like you said, spirit has a way of doing that, because, yeah, so the busyness, I got burned out, in education, that kind of thing. And it's, I can't do anymore. But you know what? There was a reason for it, Cassie, because again, you got that confidence, and Tracy and you have done a tremendous job. So who knows? I don't know, maybe not done as well. There's a possibility, but Tracy and you are really taking off with it, and it's just shining, and it is touching so many people. All right, let me ask you, what can you tell someone to help them be inspired to find their life's passion is what you have?
You gotta follow your instincts, and you gotta follow your heart. If you got an idea, and like me with the podcast, what? You want me to go live? No, this is a bad idea. This is a bad plan. But to take those ideas, because usually that's I think that spirit going, hey, it's time to get out there and do this. And there's so many times that we do get that nudge. We do get that, like, hey, go this direction, and we resist it, or we choose not to accept it, or we find an excuse to say no. And so many times that's the thing that's going to bring so much in for you. And it's just like, by saying no, are you saying no just to the thing, but you're also saying no to everything else that's good and positive that could come from it?
Absolutely. Oh, that is wonderful inspiration. All right. Should we do the question, last question and then we'll talk about where they can reach you and everything.
Sure.
So let's see what the will has to say, or not say, but question. All right, let's do it. Ah, okay. All right. So tell us what your favorite movie of all time is.
Oh.
And if you have several, you can tell us that. We
So
can change it.
so I have a favorite genre.
Okay. What is your favorite genre?
It's basically anything sci-fi, fantasy, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, all the things. Like I actually had this really interesting discussion with one of my sister's friends, and she was saying, you get, you kind of get into some of those movies, and she's like, I don't like some of the the darker characters or whatever, and I'm like, I just kind of accept that, like when you're sitting there watching Lord of the Rings, if you've got the elves and Rivendell and it's all pretty and happy, then you probably have the opposite out there somewhere. And
Right.
when I pull up to those movies, I'm like, bring it. Bring in the like I want I want the superpowers. I want when you see them people like drawing on magic and just I'm like, yes, I so want that. I want those abilities.
All right. So you've heard it. Oh, that's awesome. And that's probably where your creativity came through, right?
Yes.
Is seeing it's not sci-fi. I mean, it is sci-fi, but it's also what did you call it? What genre was it?
Fantasy.
Fantasy. Yes,
Yeah.
fantasy. Did you read comic books growing up? The fantasy type comic books or anime or I don't know what's called.
I am really weird when it comes to books.
Oh,
I
okay.
will either pick it up and read like the entire series through, or you
Wow.
can't get me to pick it up at all.
Ah, I gotcha. So did you read Harry Potter?
I did.
Gosh.
And my sister was after I think I was like about book 5 that I finally picked them up and started reading them. When like as book 5 had already come out. And so when I started the series, I had 5 books to go through. And I remember my sister coming in one day and being like, it's going to be really nice to get my sister back when you start when you finish these off.
Right. She will come out of her fantasy world.
So yeah, there's actually a really amazing series called The Green Rider, and I'm like, it's a series of like 4 or 5 books. I think that they extended the series at one point, but it's actually it's one that I'm like, somebody needs to take that series and turn it into a movie.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I want to see the movie.
You heard it here. And
right.
maybe they'll go to you and go, what did you say, Cassie? Okay, so they can reach you on the website.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yes. So stargazersunite.com. You can also find me across all social media platforms at stargazers.unite. Yeah, guys, reach out. I do have a special code actually just for the people who are watching the show. If you go to book a free discovery call with me and put inspired in the code, it will give you a free project discovery call with me.
And how much is the discovery call usually?
It's usually $50.
So see, yeah. So if you hear it on the podcast or if you see it, the video on YouTube or Facebook. Yes. All right. So you've got the code here, which is inspired. Now, does it have to be uppercase or does it matter?
I don't think it matters.
Okay. All right, my dear. So with this, I am going to say thank you so much for being on. It was an awesome evening. And I just love listening to about your creativity and actually get on air with you again.
Right? It's always fun. It's always fun when we get together.
That's right. All right. So thank you so much. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. And remember, find your passion this week, okay? And go for it. Follow that intuition. And if it's being pulled, say yes to it.
Yes.
All right.